What's an unexpectedly well-paid job? Boiler operator. Get paid $35 per hour to play Skyrim on Switch while watching Netflix. Just have to find one that's all operator and no maintenance. I work at home as a closed captioner broadcaster for the news. I make my own schedule and make between $35 to $65 per hour depending on the job. Large investment to get started but significantly worth the payout. An office job but you're secretly on Reddit. That's my job, shish. Garbage collectors in New York are paid up to $112,000. A solid salary considering you don't even need a degree. Sounds like a nice fallback plan for me. The waitlist for those, which you can only apply for a very short window once a year or so, is insanely long. Most city titles every 4 years FYI. Airline dispatcher. A girl I dated many years ago I met because she was living in my town training to be an airline dispatcher. There are just a handful of schools that teach it. I had no idea what an airline dispatcher was, let alone how much money they get paid. Dispatchers at FedEx can make $150,000 per year or more. It also gives you a lot of options to advance at an airline. Like being station chief at an airline. The girl I dated had a dream to one day be Air France station chief in Tahiti. I don't know if she made it or not. Court reporting. Stenography is a tough skill to learn. But plenty of court reporters earn over $100,000. And no college degree required, although most CRs will need to be certified. I'm currently in court reporting school and holy s it is hard. But I enjoy it. I should be finished later this year and I can't wait to start working. Technical writing. If you have the ability to take complex technical information and simplify it according to the reading audience, you can make well over $100,000 annually. People ridicule English degrees until they find out how much can be earned as a technical writer. Mobile crane operator. Union guys pull over $200K and it's a trade that's pretty easy on the body. Operating engineers have a surprisingly high occurrence of back, neck and wrist injuries. They do make a ton of money though. I don't know if this is true in other cities but T and bus operators in Boston make bank. I've rarely met a higher paid, less engaged group of employees in my life and I work in recruiting. I have a friend who is a MBTA bus mechanic. He makes so much money. He can retire at 45. I fix hospital beds. Will be making $100K within my first 2 years with full benefits. I also have full control over my hours. Power linemen make bank. Not a lot of people even know about it. Insanely dangerous job though. 2 linemen died in our small town because some family didn't shut their breaker off when they hooked up their generator while they were working on it. Electricity is f***ing terrifying and sometimes even the smallest things missed can have major consequences. Edit, rephrased a sentence to better say what I meant. But just for clarity, the situation was during a natural disaster and sleep depravity was almost definitely the root cause of the deaths. Linemen were working and barely sleeping for a week straight before backup could come. But the lack of sleep in itself is a major danger. As is the weather they sometimes work in. Or the electricity itself. Linemen take safety seriously but one thing going wrong can end in disaster. Even something as simple as flipping a wrong switch or forgetting a single piece of safety equipment. But as far as things go, electricity is probably one of the last things on earth you want any accident with. Utility linemen. There is a developing shortage nationwide due to baby boom retirements. It's well-paid base, but the overtime is fabulous. I have a couple friends who got into this after they left the military. They all make well over $100K. Storm seasons bring in tons of overtime. They're all in their mid to late 20s buying houses. Greater than buying houses, this generation is feed. It's a sign of wealth if you can even afford a home. I drive machinery in a coal mine in Australia. I make about $170K. Even our new trainees are paid pretty well. About $48 per hour. I think it ends up being close to $90 to $100K. Easy money for sitting on your ass in an air-conditioned cab. 170,000 Australian dollars equals $118,000. Longshoreman. If you are a senior member of a union you make absolute cake. $180,000 plus a year. Becoming a locksmith changed my life. Well paid and I get to help people out, I love it. It opened a lot of doors for you. Right? Winking face. UPS drivers can make close to 100K if you stay there long enough, blew me away when I first heard that. My uncle was a UPS driver in Maine for 30 years. He had to quit due to an unrelated injury, but I'm pretty sure he was making high 80K low 90K before that. Ditch digger. Actually. Directional boring. Guy the first no was literally a ditch digger. But got into this by renting the specialized equipment just at the right time and right place, fiber optic build out in the 1990s. He will also say that he made it simply by being reliable and trustworthy. I do not know exactly how much he makes. But he has an 80-foot sport fisherman, probably cost $7 minus $10 million, and he bought a $4 million property on a whim. TBH, if you actually show up to a job site as a contractor and do a decent job, you are better than 90% of them. I swear half the time they will take a job and only show up to work when they run out of beer money. And let's not even get into quality of the work. I was a bathroom attendant in a fancy restaurant. Made hundreds of dollars a night in cash to do next to nothing. Well, they don't do nothing, their purpose seems to be to make the bathroom experience half as convenient and 1000% more awkward. And they always succeed. Pretty sure they're only there to keep people from doing hard drugs in the bathroom. Not a good sign. Regardless. And to stop unwanted F-king. The year I got out of high school, I picked up a job at a private country club working the bag room. When I spotted a member, I'd grab their reserved, private cart from the garage and load their clubs on it that they kept stored in the bag room. Couple damp towels hung on the back. Pencils, score cards and everything waiting by the time they stepped up. Place was primarily executives and whatnot for like the major automotive companies here in Michigan. I made a couple hundred each day in tips. During a couple tournaments that took place, I went home with around $500 in my pocket. I took home so much each day that I kept forgetting to pick up my paycheck, which was something like another $400 each week, late 90s minimum wage. Only part of the job I hated was using the picker to get the balls off the range. There was always some a bag trying to use me for target practice. Funeral director is a great paying job with not a whole lot of schooling. That's what I do and I make about $75. Oh. Enjoyed watching you at WrestleMania over all these years. Janitor in the public sector. I approve of this comment. Doorman at a big name hotel. Tips baby. Someone has watched Home Alone too many times. My dad works at a hotel which is on the same block as the movie. His Christmas tips is literally more than the monthly salary. If you have a strong stomach. Cleaning up death and crime scenes pays very well and requires little education. I have a friend who did this. It definitely paid well, but he talked about some of the things he saw and I don't know if I could do it myself. There is a job in my country called chicken SXER. You're paid something like 10k euros per mission to touch newborn chicks and determine their SX. Elevator technicians. Yeah, but the enjoyability of the job goes up and down a lot. Bartending. Some people know, but the overwhelming majority don't. If I only worked 20 hours, 2 days a week this year, weekends, I would make close to $50,000. If I really tried and worked 2 solid jobs 5 days a week, I would easily hit close to, if not over, $100,000. This doesn't apply to every bar or bartender. You're not going to make this type of money at an Applebee's or a super franchised corporate establishment. So true. I have a good friend that bartends in this Spanish club in Miami, and he said if he decided to work 4 days a week instead of working 1 to 2 days a week, he could probably make $100K a year. Hot dog vendors can earn 6 figures in a year. Buddy of mine went to Hopkins back in the day and noticed that the lacrosse games, while well attended, had no vendors. Nobody seemed to want the job, so he asked if he could. Year later he had all his friends bagging hot dogs the night before and was buying drinks and chips by the truckload. Sold everything for $1. Came home after every game with trash bags full of dollars. Year or so later the school realized what a cash cow it was and took over the gig. But my buddy had pretty much paid for school by then. Collecting golf balls. Saw on the news a guy makes over $250 Traveling around and using scuba gear getting golf balls. IDK if surprising but one people don't think about. Selling ad space on local broadcast stations. I do it and make more than most families do in my area and I'm at smaller market. Going into a medium one can put you well into 6 figures. I work as a lunch lady. I get school vacations off, summers off, and weekends, no nights, or even really afternoons. It's amazing. I also get benefits. And every year I get a raise. So between the money and the time off, the job is 100% worth it. You must be full-time. I'm part-time and don't get benefits. But you're right. Only work like 108 days a year and still get paycheck during the summer off. Furry PRN artist. Seriously. Furries will shovel out so much money for commissions and then tip on top of that. If you get a big enough following it can be surprisingly well paid. Contractors for household moving companies with 18-wheelers can gross between 200 and 400k a year. Train driver for London Underground. Heavily unionized industry. And London's dependency on the network means they've been able to demand an enviable package. High base pay, high overtime rates, and travel passes for the family. Document specialist for utilities. Basically you have to know someone to get into it. But I went from making less than 40k as an office admin to 120k as a doc specialist. No college requirement. Often people just get their spouses or siblings on because they've worked in an office before. As a general rule, this is terrible for anyone who actually knows what they're doing in the job. But, like, whatever. A lot of times I'm just getting paid to hold down a desk. Optician. I get $30 plus an hour to sell you glasses and contacts. Trader Joe's managers. General managers of stores make $100. plus. Assistant store managers make $60. 80. Per year. Not bad for working grocery. My manager literally has no life because she is the manager and has to oversee, run, fix everything which, from higher up, she gets even more work. Which also causes her to lose days off and holidays to catch up on work. It isn't worth the money. Scrum Masters in software development industry. They are paid 6 figures for basically setting up meetings and being cheerleaders. They don't have any responsibility for delivery of work and they don't have any work beyond what I described.